Boom, boom. Welcome to Phranchise Mode. I'm excited to embark on this new journey with y'all. Thank you all for supporting me throughout the growth. The MNR Network is our next big thing. And today we're going to be getting into some pre-draft talk. Everyone knows the Wizards are a team I've covered for a long time. Love the team. I brought in a special guest. We'll introduce him when he comes on. But just stay tuned and make sure to subscribe, share, and like so we can continue to grow the family. All right, so here's a special guest I was telling you about. I have Colin here. He's a Syracuse University journalism major as well. So we got a little Columbia versus Syracuse, who's the #1 J school going on. So, how you doing, Colin?
I'm pretty good. Unfortunately, the sprinklers just came on outside here at my apartment complex, so it might be a little bit loud, but I'm really excited. The draft is one of those things that I'm looking extra forward to this year because my team, as well as the Wizards, are both in the lottery, both teams picking in the top 10. I'm just excited to see, who both of our teams can add to take that next step after a down year.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a very interesting draft. I can't wait to see how you feel about, especially picks 5 through 10. Where the Wizards and Portland are in a really interesting range. So I want to first ask you, what is your take on this draft and who are some of your favorite players?
Yeah, so, this draft obviously has high-end talent. We all know that there's the big 3, or really 4 if you include Jaden Ivey, who I think is one of the 3 best players in this class. But you got Chet Holmgren, Paulo Banchero, Ivey, Jabari Smith. Those guys are the headliners. Everybody's talking about him. But some of the guys that I think deserve to get a bit of love, those guys who are, if you will, my guys, I would say Jeremy Sochan is the first one of them. I think on defense, his range and his ability to guard everywhere on the floor and be able to play as an elite helper while also showing signs on offense in his pro day with a potential jump shot. I think his upside is ginormous. I know that's not a real word, but you're talking about a player who might not be a realistic type of traditional player, if you will. So I think it's fitting to say, his impact on both ends of the floor combined is going to be big. And I honestly see Giannis level potential with him in a way. And I know that that's a crazy statement comparing him to Giannis. I feel like that's heretical, but it's hard not to look at the comparisons on defense. Their size is pretty similar. I think Sochan's going to grow from being about 6'9" to about 6'11", because mind you, he's still 19.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys grow. Finally, the sprinklers went off, but I think Sochan has all the potential in the world to be that type of player. He just needs to learn how to be a better playmaker and processor on offense.
Yeah, plus, Sochan, they said at the pro day and then the combines, he was the best shooter there. He said he was really lighting it up. Now, his form wasn't terrible before. I know you probably watched some of him in the conference. But like you say, he's a multi-positional defender. There's actually one thing I can say about this draft, there's a decent amount of really good defenders that I've watched. Yeah. He's definitely one of the best ones, though. And he actually... he was at the Wizards. We worked him. Well, he was supposed to work out for the Wizards. He has a hamstring, was it strain or whatever. But he's yeah, man. I just found out that Washington D.C. isn't a state because he's not from. I think he's not from the U.S. Right.
Right.
So that was funny. But yeah. So getting into first, we're gonna ask you just about your own team, Portland. So what do you looking for Portland to do in this draft?
Yeah, I think there's a common misconception that the Blazers need to take the player that's at their best right now versus taking a guy who within the next 3 years will get to that level. So I'm thinking a guy like Benedict Mathurin, AJ Griffin, one of those 2 wings, maybe even Dyson Daniels. I think if you get one of those guys, you can get a guy who's immediately a plus on defense where, depending on who they are, they have different strengths. So for AJ Griffin, it's his off-ball defense right now. I think the Blazers can't go wrong with any of those 3 guys. I think as long as Portland stays away from Keegan Murray, I think things will be good. Going with a wing, you need those wings to win deep in the playoffs, as we've seen with Golden State with Wiggins, Phoenix with Mikal Bridges, Boston with their wings, Toronto when they had Kawhi. Philadelphia when they had Butler. I mean, LeBron, obviously, like, it's one of those positions where you need to have one of the best of them in the league. And I think if you get AJ Griffin or Mathurin, I think that's a pretty good solution.
Are you scared of now AJ Griffin? We 45% from the three, could have easily shot even closer to 50% on catching.
Oh, he's great. Oh, his
so like clearly one of the best shooters in the draft. Like it's just guaranteed. But then people are real scared about the medicals. But then I also read that he hasn't really had a big surgery though. He's had like little, kind of like Anthony Davis in a way, where he's never like tore like an ACL or Achilles, but he's had multiple injuries. So what do you think about his medicals in that way? Are you scared as a Portland fan to take someone like that?
I mean, every single year, about a third of the top guys have some sort of medical issues.
Yeah.
And it's also really hard to gauge if medical issues from a young level will hold up. I mean, because everybody was concerned about Steph Curry's ankles. And I know, that's Steph Curry. That's one case. You know, I think if you have situations like that where players are able to string together healthy years, there's no reason to not take a chance on a future player, and it would be unfair to not give them a chance for past instances of being hurt. So, you know, I don't have that many concerns with AJ's health. I think his upside is gigantic. I think his ability to create off the dribble, it looks a little bit wonky, but, you know, he's really good at getting that separation and getting those shots off. I think it's really fun to watch him get to work with the ball. I think there's a lot of Jaylen Brown in him, where a lot of his dribble moves and handles are a little bit quirky and not necessarily the tightest, but they work because of that change of speed and that size for a 2/3. I think overall he projects to be, you know, a Jaylen Brown level player almost within 3 years. And there's no reason to not take that player right now if you're Portland.
Yeah, it's crazy too about AJ, because I look like when I watched him and I watched Johnny Davis the same day. I don't know why Davis looks bigger on TV, but in real life, they actually waited to come on. AJ Griffin's like 20 pounds heavier. I think he's like almost, they said measured him at almost 215, 220, versus Johnny Davis is only like 195. So I think that's also something, he has the potential to at least be a neutral or positive defender. Just he has the size and length. It's just about the, you know, the grit and who's his first coach. So that'd be interesting. But now before we end this first segment, just going into the Wizards, what do you think the Wizards should be looking for in this draft?
Well, I think they should honestly just take the best player available, because Bradley Beal's already said he's made his decision. I don't know what it's going to be. It's very possible he leaves. And even if he stays, I don't think it's beneficial to give him that much money and cripple your franchise and send them to purgatory, because let's face it, as good of a player as Beal is, he's not worth a supermax that's record setting. He's not worth devoting the entire energy of your franchise to when there are so many more feasible and efficient ways to win. I think they trade him and just take the best player available, who, in my opinion at this time, could be Jaden Hardy. I know that sounds like a name out of left field, but his ability to operate in the pick and roll, his passing has gotten a lot better. I think offensively he's got the total package, and he's not like Beal, where he's more of a complimentary guy on offense. He's more, like Beal's more of an offensive two. I think Hardy could be an offensive number one. I think he could be the real deal. I also think another guy that you guys could look at potentially, if Sohan's there, that would be great, obviously. I think Johnny Davis. I think Johnny Davis would be really nice. I think defense, he's really underrated. I think he's very, very good on that end. I think offensively, like, there are concerns about him relying on super tight jumpers, but he makes them. Like, that kind of shot making, you can't really teach. That ability to concentrate, you can't really teach.
He really reminded me of Chris Middleton and DeRozan in the mid-range, where they're not getting crazy separation, but you just keep making shots. Like, I don't know if that's sustainable, and like we said, like DeRozan in a playoff game, But like
Right.
we saw Middleton struggle for years, and it took 1 year for him to get it right. And then he was the second option and closer somewhat of a closer for a championship contender. So Johnny really reminds me that he seems just so confident in like him being a good player that I think he'll just be able to find a role. Like he just cares too much on defense. Now he's not the quickest guy in the world, like just a little sandy feet, but overall he tries really hard on both ends. I think he wants to get better every year. And with a team like the Wizards that don't really have a small forward, he's more of a 2-guard, but like he can, with the way the league's downsizing, he could probably play some small forward for you. Or if Bill goes to the bench, he could probably step in as a 2-guard with Kispert coming from your last pick. So
that would be nice. Yeah. I want to know from you, who would you want the Wizards to take?
I've really thought about this. I think the answer I'm going, well, for one, is to be Shaedon Sharpe. Even though we haven't seen much of him, it just seems like so raw, so many traits. I think if you lose Bill, that's your best case scenario. Now, he could just can prove everyone wrong and just not be good at basketball. I think he will be. My second, it would be AJ Griffin, though. The medical's scary, but like you have him and then you have Kispert. You have both 6'6" and can shoot. You know, the Wizards were like the 27th, I think, three-point shooting team this year or something around that. They got to get some more shooters. I mean, you have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope too, but I think he also is a trade candidate. If I'm a contender, he's only making $14 million KCP. Kuzma's only making 13. Those are players I think championship level, teams were going to go after for the Wizards because they played too well for a team that wasn't, contending.
Yeah, I think, honestly, the Wizards just need to take the best player they can get, honestly. Whoever they have highest on their big board that's available, just take the guy because you need an identity. This team, doesn't know if it's going to keep Beal or not. They don't know what they can be with Beal on their team. They tried to put a bunch of other... Yeah. Right. And they try to put a bunch of other different guards alongside him that never seem to work. They always seem to clash. And then, big men... you can never find one there. I mean, you think Gafford is the guy, but I mean, he's not a big needle mover. He's a good role player, but he's not a guy you can win a championship with necessarily. I think the Wizards just need an identity. Whoever they can get that's highest on their board, they should take.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. Yeah, okay, so now we're going to our second segment. We have some mock drafts, a little CBS Sports, a little of the sporting news, the athletic, places like that. They all have had a mock draft, and this is as of yesterday. They did this mock draft, so very recent. So first, the sport news. We have Kyle Irvin, great journalist. You also, read his stuff that he has on the sport news. He has the Wizards selecting at number 10, no trades. He has Johnny Davis going there. So what do you think about Johnny's fit on the Wizards?
Ooh, man, I think, obviously, if you want to go the route of keeping Beal, you want to have guys that can play off of him. And I think Davis can do that by making shots. Also, he's the type of guy you can take a chance trying to build a franchise with, not around, but with. I think he's a difference maker on defense. I think offensively he's a good shooter. I don't think you can go wrong if you take Johnny Davis. Yeah,
as the Wizards, as a team that wasn't good defensively or shooting, I think he's a pretty good fit. Like, I mean, we saw at the end of the season when he got that injury, his shooting plummeted. Like it was getting real bad. But overall, before that catch and shoot, he wasn't terrible. Like, I think his range isn't amazing, but it seemed like from the corners he excelled. Which in the Wizards offense, if you have him and a KCP on the floor or him and a Kispert on the floor, I think it can work. But see, now we're going to do pick after, pick before. So the pick after him was AJ Griffin, and the pick before him to the Spurs was Jalen Durant. So out of both of those picks, who do you think the Wizards should have maybe traded up to jump to get Durant? Do you think they should have taken AJ Griffin since he went after, or just stayed pat at 10 and just took the guy that they took it with Johnny Davis?
Honestly, I think just taking Johnny Davis at this point because, I don't think it's realistic that AJ Griffin falls. I don't. I think, a lot of executives have him as high as 4th. I think it's very realistic he goes 4th or 5th. I think I think Johnny Davis is the most realistic option for you guys, just because he's the guy who I envision being there, and he's a guy who I think is a safe pick there.
Yeah.
I think if you pick him, it's a B+, and I think you're happy with it.
Yeah, definitely. And just another one for your own, for your team. They had in this mock draft, they had Dyson Daniels is a pick at 7 for Portland, who's someone I've heard the Wizards have really talked. I think if he's there at 10, he's the Wizards' #1 selection. Wouldn't be mine, but I think he's. So what would you think about Daniels being the pick there, coming off the Evan Turner thing?
Yeah, I think he compares to Derek White to me, because I think his handle is good but not great, but he's confident enough in it to get by. I think he's a quick processor who doesn't do too much. I think his shooting is a bit inconsistent. I think defensively he has a really high upside. I just don't think he's going to be what a lot of teams are expecting him to be, which is, it's okay. He fits the Lonzo role as more of a connector type of player, a Halliburton type of player maybe. But I don't think he's the guy I would want Portland to pick at 7 if AJ Griffin or Benedict Mathurin or even Sohan are available. I think those would all be better selections for now and for the future, but Dyson's pretty good.
Yeah, it's crazy because he's been like really polarizing. Like I've seen him at like 5th in some mock drafts, but I've seen him at like 12 in some as well. So it's like people have really hot takes on him. I think people also think he's a better playmaker than he is. Then he's at least shown. Now maybe he can develop to be better right there, but he's, like you say, he's more of a Lonzo Ball, Rondo type of passer in that way. So it's going to be interesting to see. But at the same time, if he plays with Dame and Anthony Simons, he's actually probably pretty good of a fit there based on the defense and like the connecting as a passer. So that'd be interesting. But okay, now let's move on to The Athletic, one of my favorite, publications to read. You gotta learn a lot from. We have Zach Harper. We all know what he does. He's really good at what he does. He has the Wizards taking AJ Griffin in this draft. So what do you think about AJ Griffin's fit with the Wizards?
That would be an A+ pick, but he's not going to fall that far. We've already, that's reality, right? Also, if you could trade Beal, I know this is off topic, but if you could trade Beal and guarantee that you get AJ Griffin, would you do it?
For Ivy, I would.
For Ivy, you would? Okay.
I would for Ivy. Griffin, I'd have to think what team is it? Probably maybe, I don't think he goes to Detroit, so you probably get it to the 6th pick. You probably get to 6. So
what if our teams trade?
I think that's very possible though. I've saw a couple one because if Portland is trying to get against some wing defenders, the Wizards just have so many. The Wizards have a lot of players that I think playoffs need to use, like again a Kuzma or a KCP. Those just seem like players teams could use that are trying to contend. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow some salary matching goes on with just Portland just goes down 3 picks, probably gets a player they were maybe eyeing anyway, like a Sohan anyway. Yeah. So it wouldn't be the worst case scenario. I think realistic. And for this draft too, the pick after with Jalen Duran again, so this must be his range. But then you have Ivy as the pick before it. They had him falling to 9 in this draft. How realistic do you think it's possible he falls past 4?
It's stupid to think he falls that far. I think he could get past 4. I think AJ Griffin has a shot to go 4 on Thursday. But I think Ivy is such a good scorer right now. He's so fun to watch. I'm at a loss for words describing him because he's kind of like in that Darius Garland quick twitchy mode. Yeah,
like Ja Morant developed so much from year 1 to year 2 that it's no way you're looking at a prospect that's like explosive like this. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like it's just no way. And the Kings are just in a trash spot just because
give him an identity.
Yeah, like
honestly,
because it's like if you have him and Fox, you're a really explosive team. But it's
then just trade Fox.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Then Fox is probably because he's been there so long. But then they're trying to build with Sabonis, and I don't know what's going on in Sacramento. I don't feel like they hired Mike Brown too. It's a weird coaching fit to me as well. So it's just like there's
such a weird franchise.
I really believe. I think Keegan Murray is the pick there. I would think they'd be dumb to pick him there, but yeah, I think it'd be interesting. But okay, now we have CBS Sports. They had 4 analysts do a mock draft. We're only gonna look at 2. The first one we have Kyle Boone. He has the Wizards actually taking Shaedon Sharpe. So he has Sharpe falling to 10. So what do you think about Sharpe's fit with Washington?
I think it's great. It means that if you move on from Beal, you've got a guy who's going to be better. And honestly, I don't think Shaedon falls that far. Yeah. I think some team's going to take a flyer on him very, very early. But he can really dribble, and I know the handle concerns are there, but he's got really high upside. He's so fun to watch. He's uber athletic. The tape is real, and I think he would give you guys an identity.
Who do you think his comp is? This is a tough one for him.
He gives me Tyrese Maxey energy.
Yeah, he's definitely like that type of like wiry scorer that just scores the basketball, and he has a projected 49-inch vertical. Don't know how real that is. Probably not 49. It's just kind of like insanely.
Or a Jalen Green, maybe.
Yeah, like so he has a 49-inch vertical.
That's a good player.
He can shoot the 3 ball. Some teams gonna take a flyer on him, and if he falls to 10, the Wizards, I don't even think you should wait the full clock. Like you've literally somehow stole a guy. I don't care if you don't think he fits on the team. You have to just take this kid. And we're not like, it's not like we're going to win a championship anytime soon. So it's not like we're rushing him to be his full potential year 1. So I think he'd be a really good fit. But the pick before and after here are new players. I'm surprised they were in this range. So the pick before was Mathurin to the Spurs. And the pick after was Ty Washington, which I thought was really interesting. But the Knicks do need a guard, but he's, he'd be a slight reach there.
No way.
So what do you think about those 2 picks?
Well, I think the Knicks should take Jaden Hardy if he's there. I think.
You like Hardy over Ty?
What?
So you like Jaden Hardy over Ty Washington?
For sure.
Okay.
I think Hardy's a lot better operating in the pick and roll.
It's crazy because Washington was he played too much off ball last year, which is it's good because you show that he can be a more of a combo guard if need be for a team, but he's so small that he has to be a point guard.
Yeah. So, I don't think Ty's that good.
What do you think his range is? Because if he's going at 11 in some draft, I've seen him.
Yeah, that's way too high. I've got them 21st on my board.
Okay.
I think that's where I have him at. I just think there are other guards that do the job better. Mm-hmm. Even like Darion Sebron, I think, is a little bit better. I don't know. I just think there are multiple guys who do a better job of either getting downhill or shooting or just doing anything, frankly.
Yeah, so you project them. I've kind of projected him to not be a starter. Like maybe he's a low-level starter, but I think he'd be a good, like what Boston did with Derek White, a good bench player, can score and can pass pretty well. Okay, so now for CBS again, we have 2 experts that had separate mock drafts. So we have Gary Parrish. He has the Wizards taking Ocha Abaji, the Kansas guard, senior, 22. What do you think about him as high as 10? But that was pretty high.
Yeah, I'd give that pick a C- or a D+. I think Ochai is a really helpful guy. I think he's a consistent rotation guy, and he's going to be a strong rotation guy. But I just think there are so many better options there. So
yeah.
I think not D+ is too harsh. I would give it a C.
I'd probably give it around that. It's just first, I just hate a senior in the top 10. You gotta really be like, I'm not even sure, to be honest, who I can think about who's the last.
You got to be like Christian Laettner to do that.
Yeah, like the last senior to be in the top 10, because people gave me Carl Bridges a lot, and he was a junior when he came out.
Yeah.
And he was a champion. Well, I guess so. So I guess they have similar things to that, but like he couldn't even. I mean, he wasn't even that good of a shooter his previous years. Now shooting last year, he shot really well from three, but overall, his previous seasons, he wasn't even as good of a shooter. He just scares me, and his ceiling seems low for a top 10 pick. Like, so that was a little scary.
I agree, and that's how I feel about Keegan Murray too. I think Keegan Murray's a little bit. I think if he falls to you guys, that's a win. But I think. You mentioned him to the Kings. I don't know if I can agree with that because I think his shooting's not as great as it could be. I don't really like his handle. I don't think he can do that much off the dribble. Yeah. Defensively, he's pretty good. I just don't think that warrants top 5 selection.
Yeah, he's interesting. He's 21 as well, so he has a little more age. It should be interesting to see what happens with him. But let me see. Oh, okay. So then we have the Yahoo. The last one we're going to be doing is the Yahoo Sports one. There's Christian Peak. She's one of the best journalists that Yahoo Sports has. She has the Wizards taking Johnny Davis, someone we've already talked about. But the players that were surrounding the pick that we haven't talked about, that we've kind of gotten to, was Jeremy Sohan, who was, I think, the pick before to the Spurs. I think it would be a great fit. And then Eason from LSU. So what do you think about those players that were the surrounding players in that?
I think Easton's a really good athletic driver. I don't think he's worth a top 10 pick. I think Sohan would be the move if he's there. And again, I just think you guys got to take the best player available. I think Easton's a really good driver. Very athletic, good defender. He's the type of guy that would help you with Beal, who I think would immediately slot in as like a Cameron Johnson level of player. But I just think there are better options out there, and there are better options that will help you move into a better direction where you're building around better talent, where you're not just hyper reliant on a lower level all-star.
All right, now for our third and final segment, we're going to get to the expectations for the draft. So what do you think is actually going to happen on the day?
Well, I think the top 3 picks in no particular order will be Jabari, Paulo, and Chet. I think in some configuration, I think those will be the top 3. I think that's obvious. I'm also expecting Jaden Ivey to be the first guard off the board. There's no way teams are not enamored with that athleticism. And I think in terms of another surprise, I would say Jeremy Sohan will go a lot earlier than a lot of people expect. I think he might go in the top 6 to 8. I think Dyson Daniels could work into the top 5. I don't expect those necessarily, but I wouldn't be shocked. I think AJ Griffin, this is what I expect. I expect AJ Griffin to go top 5. I think either Sacramento, whoever picks is gonna
top 5. So it's the Pistons
5. Okay, so Sacramento, Pistons, Indiana. One of those teams will take AJ Griffin. And I think he will go before Benedict Mathurin.
Oh, okay. It's his fit with, well, to be honest, he fits on every team in the NBA. He's one of those players. Yeah. But like I was already talking about fit when you shoot 45% from a 3 and you're 6'6", but like with like a Cade Cunningham, it's like your primary ball handler, and if they keep killing Hayes too,
right,
you'll be able to get a lot of looks. And you have Sadiq Bey, so you have your 2 passer playmakers and then your 2 shooters, and then we'll see what they do with the center position, I guess.
Oh, Sadiq Bey and AJ Griffin would be filthy.
Yeah, like they just be lighting it up. Like, and then you have the crazy. Yeah, it'd be a big team too. Like no one would be under 6. Not the smallest killing Hayes, like 6'3", 6'4". So it'd be a tall team too, which is good. So that'd be an interesting fit. But based on that though, you think Shaedon Sharpe, you think the fall is real? Like,
no, I don't know. I think he could also go 5th. I could see the Pistons taking him. I just don't know Like, do I think teams are going to take Shaedon Sharpe or Keegan Murray? Do I think they like Murray or Sharpe? I feel like they like Murray. I like Sharpe more. I like Johnny Davis more. I just feel like they're going to take Keegan Murray so early in this draft. So I don't think it's more Shaedon Sharpe falling. I think it's more just other teams making silly picks.
Yeah. And I know we haven't really talked. We've said Jalen Duran's name a couple of times.
Yeah.
We haven't really got into him as a player. So he's 18, I think, if I'm not mistaken, today. He's still 18. What do you think about him as a player? I've seen him at 9.
I think he's very raw. I think he needs to hone in on improving his jumper in pick and pop situations. I think defensively, the upside's very real. He's that guy that comes in that's just, that Jarrett Allen kind of defender.
Oh, wow.
I think he's got a really high upside there. But offensively, he's got a lot of work to do.
So what about him and Mark Williams? Like, what is the difference between?
Oh, he's way better than Mark Williams because I think he's a lot more switchable. I think the potential is there on offense, whereas with Mark Williams, I think, he seems a little bit like a negative on offense.
Okay. Now, so we've done a lot of Wizards for this episode. So for Wizards fans, you can't say we didn't, give you all some love. So we're going to talk about the Wizards, then we'll end with Portland. Do you think this draft can actually help the Washington Wizards?
I think it really depends on where they pick, right? Because if they pick 10th, I don't think it helps them that much in the immediate or long-term future. I don't think this guy, especially in this class, ends up being like a real difference maker. I think if the Wizards are able to trade into the top 5, then it would help them if they could get like AJ Griffin or whoever they want. But I think realistically, it wouldn't help the Wizards that much, just because the range of players available at 10 isn't going to be that good. And they're kind of in a really tough situation looking for an identity, but also having to do so picking 10th and not top 5. So a trade would help them, but until then, they are in a predicament.
Yeah, and it's crazy with the Wizards too, because we all know they traded Dinwiddie and Bertans at the deadline for Porzingis. So we have never saw Porzingis and Bill play together because Bill had surgery on his wrist before he could play with Porzingis. So I think the Wizards' goal, if you would ask me, is probably to build around those two. It's not, we all know it's not 2017, so that's not a good idea. But that's what the team is planning, I think, to do. So I think their pick is going to be based on probably, I'm assuming, who fits best with that. And they kind of the Wizards have a logjam at forward with like Rui, Denny, Kuzma. I'm probably missing some players, but like it's a logjam at the same positions. Like I think they finally got center. Like good or bad, you have Porzingis and Gafford. So you have 2 centers that. And I guess you have Brandon Curry. He's not going to ever play. He shouldn't. But he's your 3rd center. That's probably in your G League team. So the center is done. You have a logjam at forward. You have not one point guard on the roster. So it's like, regardless, what are they going to do? This is why I think the Pacers are as a good team. Like if they can somehow get Brogdon by swapping. If they swap the 10 and the 6, so Pacers go to 10, Wizards go to 6. And they give the Pacers like some filler players too. Like I don't know who they would want that the Wizards have. Maybe a young player like a Rui or a Denny with a vet like a Casey or Kuzma that might be intriguing to a team like that. You get a vet, especially one of those championship. They technically win the championship in the bubble, and then you get a young player, and you still only go down 4 spots. That could intrigue a team like Indiana. So that'd be, I think, the goal for a team like the Wizards. That'd be a W on draft night for the Wizards. Okay, but now, so do you think this draft can actually help the Portland Trailblazers? And Mike Schmidt's there now, so you got some hope.
I think it definitely can. I think there are a lot of trades that can come from the pick, first of all. Like if Portland trades back to 12 and gets the OKC pick plus Dort, or if we're able to trade up, obviously. But if we're able to trade the pick and get Ayton maybe, or OG Anunoby, like maybe that could help a little bit. If not, I mean, if AJ Griffin's available, that would be awesome. Benedict Matherin's there, that would be awesome. Sohan would be awesome. Those guys would all be super helpful for the Blazers to win now and down the road. So I think it can be helpful, but you know, the Blazers just cannot screw up. They can't take Keegan Murray here.
Yeah.
Let's screw the team up.
Yeah. So before we move off of Portland, Anthony Simons, you do think he'll be there? You don't question that happening?
Yes, I think he's very good, and I think he's a plus on defense right now.
Yeah, he has good size. It seems like he's gotten better every year, which is always a good sign for your players. You don't want,
especially at the end of this year.
So yeah, especially at the end of the year. So, and he's probably really has to get very better. Him and Dame both shooting off ball, just ability to play off ball, which I think
Simons is a lot better at shooting off ball than on ball. Well, no, I take that back. I think Simons is very good at shooting off the ball. I think obviously both guys are good catch and shoot guys. Dame is obviously equipped to score on his own and take guys off the dribble and be a one-man offense, but Anthony can play off of Dame's creation pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. So again, I want to thank you for coming on. This is one of our first episodes of Phranchise Mode. You were amazing. I definitely want to shout out your Instagram too. You can drop your ad. But besides that, like, definitely one of the best graphic makers, I think, on Instagram, like higher than like Bleacher Report graphic levels.
Oh, stop it.
So I'll always comment on the graphics. I think they're insane. So we've talked about that before. You know,
I appreciate it.
Definitely. So it's been really good. I'm definitely glad you can come on. And again, we'll keep talking, and hopefully, on a later date, probably maybe like before the season starts, we can do this again.
All right, sounds good. Sorry about the airplane, but this has been fun.
All right, well, thanks again for coming on, and make sure you all are subscribed, sharing, and liking.